experience and demand from the public regarding the different type of treatments and different type of procedures. So I think it's very important we have, all of us have good sound knowledge regarding all these new products. And without delay, I would like to call the first speaker, Dr. Sodvelon Bandari. So Dr. Sodvelon will be talking about introduction to regenerative block. Okay, Dr. Sodvelon.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be one of the speakers at this National CME, and I would like to thank Sodvelon for this great opportunity. So moving forward with today's presentation, I'll be talking about introduction to regenerative blocks, where I'll be talking about skin biology, regeneration, and brief discussion on PDRN, PN, and exosomes. Okay, so what is the cutaneous interface? So skin, it represents dynamic interface between the external environment and internal physiological milieu. So the three intimately interconnected compartments, as we all know, these include epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. And there is continuous crosstalk between these three compartments by means of various biochemical mediators, biomechanical forces, and immunological signaling pathways. So cutaneous regeneration, so it cannot be attributed to the activity of a single cell or tissue. So rather, it's a coordinated interaction among keratinocytes, fibroblasts, endothelial cells, adipocytes, and immune cells. And dermal extracellular matrix, it is now considered as this to play the central biological role. So extracellular matrix, this not only provides the mechanical support, but also it acts as a dynamic signaling platform that regulates cell adhesion, migration, proliferation, and differentiation. And ECM remodeling, this is considered as primary driver of morphogenesis, repair, and regeneration. So when you talk about aging, so we have got like intrinsic and extrinsic stressors, so particularly UV radiation. So because of this, there are certain changes, which includes fragmentation of collagen fibers, disorganization of elastic networks, increase in MMP or matrix metalloproteinase activity, and decline in fibroblast activity. Overall, this leads to impaired mechanotransduction and reduced regenerative responsiveness. And if you compare the photo also, you can see in the young skin, the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis, it looks comparatively normal, whereas in the aged skin, it looks thinner, and as a result, there are certain changes like wrinkle and also pigmentary changes, and barrier also damaged, because of which there is dryness and so many problems. So when you talk about regeneration, so this must be distinguished from classical scar-based repair. So what happens in repair? So this is a disorganized collagen production, and there is incomplete reconstruction of the native architecture. Whereas when in a regeneration, this is a temporally and spatially orchestrated sequence of events, which includes controlled inflammation, angiogenesis, ECM remodeling, fibroblast activation, and recruitment of resident progenital population in some cases. So distinction between repair and regeneration is particularly relevant in today's aesthetic and reconstructive medicine. And talking about durable clinical improvement, this correlates with restoration of tissue quality, elasticity, and biomechanical behavior. It does not only focus on the volumetric correction only. So there's conceptual advance in recent years. So previously, inflammation was thought to be antagonistic to regeneration, but rather, in today's world, a controlled and self-limited inflammatory response. This is considered as prerequisite for effective tissue remodeling. Biomaterial-induced inflammation, when subclinical and properly regulated, initiates innate immune cascades that recruit fibroblasts, stimulate angiogenesis, and promote ECM reorganization. So hypodermis, now it is also increasingly recognized as a key regulator of skin regeneration. Previously, it was considered as just a volumetric and metabolic reservoir, whereas these days, adipose tissue, this function as an endocrine and paracrine organ that actively influences dermal as well as epidermal homeostasis. So when you talk about dermal and subcutaneous white adipose tissue, they contribute to the regenerative niche through adipokines, different growth factors, and resident progenitor cells. And this modulates fibroblast activity along with angiogenesis and immune responses. So dermo-hypodermal axis, this provides a biological explanation for sustained improvement in skin quality. So as I've talked about different biological mechanisms which are involved in cutaneous regeneration, so this includes extracellular matrix remodeling where there is fibroblast activation leading to the increased collagen synthesis and also the balance of matrix metalloproteinase and tissue inhibitor of matrix proteinase. And another is controlled inflammatory response, which includes early macrophage recruitment followed by its transition towards pro-regenerative phase, and angiogenesis where there is endothelial activation, vascular endothelial growth factors signaling, likewise mechanotransduction, which is basically present in case of like microneedling or any kind of laser. There is conversion of mechanical stress into biochemical signaling, and another is the dermal hypodermal signaling, where there is adipocyte fibroblast crosstalk along with paracrine signaling. So if you compare between the traditional and the regenerative paradigm, so there are lots of differences. And traditionally, it used to focus mainly on filling volume defect, but these days, it focuses on restoring tissue microenvironment. Likewise, previously, it was more reliant on synthetic biomaterials, materials, whereas at present, it focuses on biologically active molecules. Likewise, previously, it used to focus on tissue repositioning, whereas these days, it more of activation of endogenous repair pathways. This is the main focus. And likewise, traditional paradigm, this addresses appearance, not the tissue health. But these days, the main focus is for improvement of tissue quality, function, and skin span. And result also, this regenerative paradigm, it gives long-term structural remodeling. So I'll be just talking about the collagen biostimulators in brief. So these are the biomaterials which are capable of inducing neocollagenesis. So there's dermal or subcutaneous remodeling through a controlled subclinical inflammatory response, which recruit innate immune cells, activate fibroblasts, and progressively deposit collagen. So this leads to the ECM reinforcement as well as improvement of the tissue quality. So examples include polyal lactic acid, calcium hydroxyapatite, there are so many. So if you compare between bioregenerators and biostimulators, obviously there are some differences. So biostimulators, they rely primarily on scaffold-induced remodeling, whereas bioregenerators like PDRN, PN, and exosomes, they act predominantly through bioactive signaling mechanisms. They modulate inflammation, oxidative stress, angiogenesis, and cellular metabolism. So we'll be talking about this in brief, because this will be covered in the subsequent session. So if we talk about PDRN or PN, so polydeoxyribonucleotide and polynucleotides, so this is a mixture of deoxyribonucleotides with molecular weight ranging between 50 to 1500 kilodalton. They are derived from salmon sperm DNA. And the extraction and purification process allow for the recovery of more than 95%. And if you talk about the mechanism, so basically the mechanism is by activation of A2A receptors, which inhibits the NF-kappa B and MAP signaling pathways. As a result, there is inhibition of the release of the pro-inflammatory cytokines and stimulation of the release of anti-inflammatory cytokines, like interleukin-10. And if we talk about the therapeutic effects, there are so many advantages. So this includes anti-inflammatory, angiogenesis, collagen synthesis, scar reduction, wound healing, soft tissue regeneration. They have got anti-melanogenesis effect as well, and overall there is like anti-aging effect too. So we have this table shows the difference between PN and PDRN, which Sir was asking in the morning session also. So if you compare between two, the PN, it is longer chain of DNA fragments, whereas PDRN, this is the shorter chain of DNA fragments. Likewise, PN, it has got higher molecular weight, and it has got higher water content and highly viscous, whereas PDRN, it has comparatively lower molecular weight, and it is lower viscoelasticity, and it has got more fluidic property. And talking about mechanisms, so PN is basically responsible for hydration, structural support, whereas in PD-iron, because of the activation of A2A receptor, this helps for wound healing, skin regeneration, anti-inflammatory, and so many other uses. So overall, these bioregenerators, this helps or promote the synthesis of collagen, both type 1 and 3, inhibit MMP, elastase, and finally preserve elastin integrity. So overall, they contribute to the restoration of ECM homeostasis, repair of dermal architecture, and sustained skin rejuvenation. So when you talk about exosomes, so they are the nano-sized lipid bilayer extracellular vesicles of endosomal origin. So these contain spans from nucleic acid material to lipids, peptides, and proteins. So the cargo, it has got so many cargo inside it. So they are the important mediators of intercellular communication. And they regulate the function of neighboring or distant cell to modulate inflammation, angiogenesis, fibrosis, and tissue regeneration. So there are different sources, cellular sources of exosomes. This was discussed in the morning session also. So the sources could be either mesenchymal stem cell, which is derived from bone marrow or adipose tissue, or even from umbilical cord or human placenta. Likewise, the other sources include platelets, fibroblasts, immune cells, and many more. So if we talk about the role of exosomes in skin, so they are responsible for so many effects, which includes anti-inflammatory, skin repair and wound healing, hair regeneration, and anti-aging. So if you talk about anti-inflammatory, they are responsible for reducing inflammatory cytokines. And likewise, for anti-aging, they are responsible for production of more collagen, elastin, reduces the activity of MMP. And likewise, for hair regeneration, they stimulate conversion from telogen to anagen, increases level of beta-catenin, which helps in augmented hair growth, and paracrine regulation of dermal papilla cell. And regarding skin repair and wound healing, they increase fibroblast proliferation, likewise promotes collagen deposition, reduces scar formation, and improves angiogenesis. So this was brief discussion. So take-home message: regeneration extends beyond volumization and targets restoration of tissue function. ECM remodeling is central to cutaneous regeneration. Controlled inflammation is necessary for regenerative signaling. PD-iron or PN act through purinergic signaling and tissue repair pathways. Exosomes, they represent a cell-free regenerative platform, though standardization remains a challenge. So this is all about today's presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sajana, for this very nice and very clear presentation. Not that I'm an expert on exosomes, but listening to you, that I am becoming more enthusiastic. I see that it does everything, yes, from anti-aging to yes, anti-inflammatory.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. But there is always that we should always be careful how much evidence is there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we should have clear-cut, very solid, founded evidence for all this, and I hope that your references support, yes, all this.
Yes, sir.
So I think we have time, and can we open the floor for any questions? If you want to ask Dr. Sajana for any questions and any queries? Someone who want to go in depth? So if there are no questions, I would proceed to the second presentation.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sajana. So may I call Dr. Suchana Maratha, and she will be speaking on exosome science in indications.
Good afternoon and namaste one and all. Thank you Sodvelon for this opportunity. My topic is on exosome. Actually, most of the job has already been done by my previous speakers. In the morning by Dr. Ashim, and just now by Dr. Sajana. So I will be just focusing mainly on the evidence part that just Sar has raised. What is the evidence and what can we expect from this particular molecule? So I'll be mainly focusing on those part. It was a tiny molecule which was described long back in 1983, and it is a nano-sized vesicle with size ranging from 30 to 150 nanometer. And its best effect and best quality is it is the best carrier. It plays very important role in skin rejuvenation because of its quality being bilipid bilayer, nano-sized dimension, biological in origin, extracellular good extracellular communication, and capability to modulate molecular activities in recipient cells. So this is how exosome carries different molecules inside it. These are like, there are many sources which Dr. Sajana has very nicely portrayed, so I don't want to go in depth. So there are many indications that is also just discussed before. So there are various compositions of exosome which it carries inside is protein, lipids, nucleic acids, growth factors, and soluble factors. There are many functions of exosome, and it is the only FDA approved indication is in cancer therapy. There are many indications in dermatology as well. The first indication, and which is proven indication, is wound healing, followed by photoaging and rejuvenation, scar treatment as post-recovery therapy for scar management. Alopecia and hair biology, it is gaining popularity in this particular field, and other inflammatory dermatosis. So how it works is, its regenerative properties in all phases of wound healing has been proven by various studies. It also can lower the melanogenesis by acting on particularly these melanogenesis-related proteins, and also in anti-aging by different growth factor stimulation. There are various modalities of exosome delivery, one being, and most commonly used being microneedling, followed by sponge helicona spicule. Some also prefer to inject it directly, and some by hydrogels as well. In skin rejuvenation, there can be direct application following rejuvenation procedures like fractional laser, microneedling, RF microneedling, and microderma abrasion. It supports the healing process, alleviates the associated symptoms like erythema, edema, and discomfort followed by the procedures. So what the research says and what is the evidence till date regarding the exosome? This study shows that using human placental mesenchymal stem cell derived exosome in aging skin, in treatment of aging skin, it was found that the exosome treatment group showed improvement in tone, quality, clarity of the skin compared to the control group, and which was statistically significant, with a reduction in wrinkle, pore, pigment, and the oiliness, and improvement even in skin vascularity. So we could conclude, we could say to some extent, we could grab this evidence from this study that we can go ahead for these indications. If we see other study, the higher level of evidence, a systematic review of efficacy of exosome on different skin rejuvenation procedures, what does the evidence says is the exosome-based treatment had promising short-term effects in various areas of skin rejuvenation like skin hydration, elasticity, texture, pigmentation, and wrinkles. So all of these parameters got improved after exosome therapy. However, methodological heterogeneity in different studies, individual studies, limited follow-up, and unstable safety reporting constant, that is the major issue. The safety issue is the major topic still on this molecule. So we still cannot conclude what is the long run future perspective of this particular molecule. My own experience, I've been using for last couple of years for the different indications in dermatology. In this particular patient, for the skin rejuvenation, before and the first one being before and the after picture, it shows that there is some improvement in fine lines, some improvement in pigmentation. If you see very closely over the nose and bilateral cheek, there is some improvement after 2 sessions. So this is after 2 sessions of microneedling with exosome. Similarly, in another patient, there is some probably some bias because of the lighting of in 2 photographs, but the after photograph is much better in terms of pigmentation and fine lines improvement. So we can expect some changes in individuals, and actually they are happy with these procedures. So we can assume that it is like a good molecule to go with even in future. I use this molecule, exosome, with microneedling for acne scars also. So we can see before and after, there is some changes in the scars as well. This is again another before-after picture. Again, another patient with microneedling plus exosome after 3 sessions. What about hair signs? So exosome is playing a huge role even in hair signs. It can be applied either topically with a microneedling or can be injected also, but still the injection safety issues of injection is still there. When we direct inject into the areas, that will be better. Injection will be better than the topical application with microneedling in case of hair. And currently, the topical application of exosome is generally followed by microneedling, and that is supposed to be safer than the direct injection. So how does exosome work in terms of hair signs is, it triggers the start of anagen phase of the hair cycle. It promotes angiogenesis, improving the blood flow of the scalp. It also acts as anti-inflammatory signaling. It acts as anti-inflammatory molecule for the scalp, and it also helps for the delivery of growth factors for the growing hair follicles. So the evidence regarding the hair signs, the effect of exosome in hair signs is, there was a recently published systematic review, and it was tried in different hair conditions, alopecia. So what was the result derived from the systematic review was, there was substantial increase in hair density after exosome therapy from 9.5 to 35 hairs per centimeter square, and also improvement in hair thickness by average 13 micrometer. The greatest level of evidence come from the randomized control trial with adipose and plant extract exosome formulation in this particular systematic review, which was recently published. However, still we cannot say that we have got stronger evidence for the future perspective. So the current evidence is still limited in terms of its safety and efficacy. Again, another systematic review related to hair signs and exosome, it also concluded that although the current clinical evidence is supporting the use of exosome in various treatment is limited, we still need to have further studies in terms of gathering further evidence to try it widely. So this is the study in androgenetic alopecia. In this study, they have tried injection, that was 3 ml of exosome injection in different part of the scalp. And this study also said that there is statistically significant improvement in hair density, which was observed in 4th and 12th week after treatment of the alopecia, androgenetic alopecia with injectable exosome therapy. Can we play the video? sorry. So this was a clip how I used to use exosome for hair loss. I generally combine it with microneedling only. I tried injecting also, but I found that was a little painful for the patient. So after that, I just preferred microneedling only. Even for the microneedling, I anesthetize the area first and followed by simultaneous pouring of exosome and microneedling together. So these are some results, before and after results in terms of hair. The most widely studied indication of exosome was actually wound healing. As Dr. Ashim highlighted in the morning, if there is some molecule to be studied for some specific indication, that is wound healing, that shows that it has got good regenerative capacity. So this study, this particular study showed that exosome is very good in terms of wound healing, and that this systematic review and meta-analysis that included 61 studies, which has included various outcomes in terms of wound healing. So this was what, we can assume that it is a stronger regenerative molecule. So what is the therapeutic value and future perspective? The therapeutic value lies on its ability to modulate the microenvironment of cells and regulate gene expression and cell differentiation. So that's why exosome is supposed to be a superior molecule. In terms of cosmetology, exosome has been used to reduce wrinkles, improve skin texture, hydration, and enhance skin elasticity, as well as to reduce the inflammation and different damage by UV rays. So exosome has been showing its promising result in terms of aesthetics, trichology, and wound healing, but still its safety and long-term outcome is yet to be assessed. The major challenge is it is not yet FDA approved, so still the safety factor is in doubt. Consistency in production is another important step because it needs lots of steps in the production of molecules. So whether all producers are able to manage each steps in a best way, whether they are able to carry that or not, that is the major question. And scientific evidence with rigorous methodologies, standardization, and risk analysis are needed to assess in depth for its use in regular clinical practice. There are various companies, various ranges of price, so financial factor is another important issue for practicing it widely. Another very important factor for its limitation is immunogenicity. So being it foreign molecule for our body, immunogenicity and immune activation is the major question whether it is safe in long-term practice or not. That's why the world is shifting towards autologous exosome. The Metacell technology has come with the autologous platelet-derived exosome, which can be formulated, which can be extracted from our own blood. However, the technology is expensive. That's why people are still hesitating to use it wisely. There is, again, solution for the same. The people are coming with cheaper technology. It is pre-packed, different company formulated pre-packed tubes from which we can extract our autologous exosome. I've also just started, and this is like few days back only I tried in my patient. Can we play a video, please? So this is how the packing, we can draw the blood, centrifuge, it's like preparing PRP GFC only, and we can directly inject into the scalp for hair. Yes, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Susana, for this you told us the evidence and various application and availability regarding exosomes. Very useful, I would say, useful information. So especially apart from the aesthetic part, we are also concerned with the wound healing part, where we have a meta-analysis, a good study with evidence, which is also useful for we dermatologists. We have many cases where we have non-healing wounds. And as Suchana has now brought some systematic reviews where there is some evidence, certainly, that there's evidence to use it. But it's important to be cautious.
Yes.
And she said about regarding the side effect, safety, which I think is very important in our practice, especially in aesthetic practice. And the evidence is still, we are searching for evidence, and with new studies, new big studies, we will have more evidence regarding the efficacy. So I think we have question answer at the end written here. I didn't see it, but I think if any of you want to ask questions, no? So Suzana is here. China, any question, China? So thank you, Dr. Suzana.
Thank you, sir.
So next speaker, I think, is the main person of today's workshop. So I will call upon Dr. Asim Sharma. So he'll be telling more about exosomes and microneedling protocols.
Hello, everyone. I think the crowd is still there. Most people still there. All awake in the hall, ready for the next session. So I think we've had a primer on exosomes and how they work, what they do. We spoke a little bit about that in the morning also, and Suchal also gave a presentation. I'm going to tell you how to use exosomes with microneedling. Most of you who are starting out would not have lasers or access to lasers or energy-based devices. Microneedling is the poor man's laser. Trust me, for the first 5 years of my career, I'll show you some results also with just microneedling. And obviously, when you can add something like exosomes to the mix, you will be able to get very good results. So don't underestimate microneedling. No matter how many fancy devices you have, you also need a good microneedling device in your clinic. So always invest in a good one as soon as you can. Does anybody know what these symbols mean? Radiation. I have some mates from the army also. So FMC people might know it, might not. So this is the universal sign for weapons of mass destruction. These are my weapons of mass destruction. I have 9 microneedling devices. I have one which Mona also has here, which is the Nanopore by Sesderma. I have the Skin Pen by G3. I have used the Dermapen World, the DPW pen. DP3 is what I had. And in the center is something that all of you have access to. It costs maybe 400 Nepalese rupees, 450, 500, mechanical microneedle. If you have nothing, you can start with that. But motorized microneedles, the ones that you see on the left side, those are obviously easier to use, quicker to do. With manual microneedling, you'll take about 20 minutes to needle the whole face, another 15, 20 minutes for the scalp. With a motorized microneedle, you can finish in under 10 minutes, and scalp also another 10 minutes or so. The one on the right, anybody knows what that is? Right side, silver handpiece. It comes with a cord. It has a cord attached to it, through which something comes. It's RF, radio frequency. So that is microneedling radio frequency. That device is called the Scarlett. I have 3 microneedling RF devices also. So in the clinic, we sometimes get confused. But whatever staff is available, whatever she knows best is what we do. But that is something that you should use. So I'm not going to bore you with theory. All of you know the basic principles of microneedling. Anybody who's not done microneedling in the audience for any indication? Yeah, so everybody's used a microneedle at some point of time, especially as residents. I think we use the mechanical one all the time. Or if you have a good department, you will also have access to a motorized one. So microneedles are basically micrometer-sized needles. That is where the name microneedle comes from. And they are classically used to deliver drugs into the dermis. They are used as transdermal drug delivery mechanisms. But for aesthetic dermatologists, it also boosts collagen on its own. There are standalone studies of microneedling being used in acne scars, standalone use of microneedling without any exosomes, without any PDRN in hair, and standalone use in wound healing. So it's something that does very, very well. Now, like I said, if you think it is only transdermal drug delivery, you are not right, because it causes resurfacing, it causes collagen induction, it redistributes melanocytes. There are standalone studies of needling in melasma as well. Plain microneedling used in melasma. The Chinese love it a lot, so they have a lot of studies on needling and melasma. It also causes new blood vessel formation, which is why we use it in hair and in acne scars. And this is interesting. 10 years back, there was a study done, again a Chinese study, which they did a molecular level study, and they realized that microneedling can also stimulate a crosstalk between cells. What are we doing now with exosomes? Like I said in the morning, we are using it to signal. We are re-establishing signaling pathways between cells. Simple 400 Nepalese rupee worth microneedle can also do the same job. So don't underestimate microneedling. It also causes crosstalk between cells. My use patterns range from acne scars, facial rejuvenation, anti-aging, scar revision, androgenetic alopecia, pigmentary disorders, and microneedling is overall colorblind, which means even the darkest possible phototype can be done. But with anything which is colorblind, you still have to respect the procedure and the skin that you're doing it on. There are reports of tram tracks being caused or tracking. If you're very deep with your needle, very aggressive, you will cause a track mark in the skin. That can obviously cause PIH. So be careful with any kind of skin type that you're working on. Does anybody know who this gentleman is? Not the handsome one on the left, the one in the middle, the more handsome one. This is Dr. Des Fernandes. He's a South African plastic surgeon. In the 1990s, he invented the drum dermoroller. That drum which I showed you, first slide, the cheap one, he's the inventor of that. We were fortunate to visit him when we went for Dazzle last year. We did an Admire session there as well. And he spoke in our session and he showed us how he used to needle. He used to take a 26 gauge needle, use a retraction forceps with it, and puncture the skin like this. So that is not micro needling, that is macro needling. He showed brilliant results in keloids, brilliant results in acne scars. He does it himself. He's close to 85 years old, but if you meet him in person, his skin's very, very good. So Dr. Des Fernandes, and the lady obviously is Dr. Atula Gupta. I think most of you who have seen her in Sodvelon know her. So we had the privilege of doing the microneedling and PRP session together at Dazzle, which happened in Goa. This was 2018. How do you do needling? So there are two things. I'll be showing you everything during the demo. We have two different mechanisms with which you can do it. One is you have pins which are arranged in a circle. You go in a circular motion with them. Pins which are arranged in a line, you go linear with them. Simple. There is something known as gliding. You can use a small solution like we'll use exosomes now, and you can glide over the skin. And that's something which you can do with just causing minimal erythema. That will also give you good results. But if you ask me what are my endpoints for microneedling, I believe in pinpoint bleeding. If you're causing pinpoint bleeding, you'll definitely stimulate new vessel formation, angiogenesis, and collagen remodeling. But there are multiple studies of only erythema also giving us good results in facial rejuvenation and anti-aging. So if you don't want to cause any bleeding, you don't want to be very aggressive, even erythema, general erythema, can give you some results. This was 1979, where the world first realized that you can transfer or deliver drugs through the dermis, so you can use skin, which is a semi-permeable membrane, to deliver something meaningful. And the first ever FDA approval for a transdermal delivery patch was for motion sickness. This was a 3-day patch called Scopoderm, basically hyoscine, avomine is what we call it. So the whole fundamental of transdermal drug delivery is I'm placing something on the skin which itself will not enter the skin. Because of certain things, there's a certain molecular weight below which a thing will get absorbed into the skin. If it is more than that, you have to push it into the skin. That push can be done with an active method or a passive method. In active methods, you can use heat. So I can use radio frequency or a fractional laser to create channels in the skin, then deliver the drug. I can use electrical current, where I can use iontophoresis. All the seniors in the audience know we used to use it for hyperhidrosis. I still have patients who come for it. I still have a small device at the clinic for iontophoresis. Or you can use electroporation. Then you have a mechanical agent, which is what we are talking about today, which is a microneedle. And you have jet injectors. You've heard of jet peels, jet injectors, microjets? Those are high pressure delivery mechanisms which create channels for just a few microseconds, and you deliver drugs through that. And the last is ultrasound. So again, when you look at HIFU now, it's high intensity focused ultrasound, but if you look at a micro focused version of that, you can also deliver some drugs using that, but we don't use it for the same purpose. The passive methods are you change the drug itself. You break the drug into smaller particles, you make it liposomal or nanosomal or ethosomes, or you enhance it using chemicals, or you create it into a prodrug. For example, minoxidil. Minoxidil is best used as minoxidil. In the body, it gets sulfated into minoxidil sulfate. If I give the body minoxidil sulfate, it is too big, so it won't get absorbed into the skin. Therefore, all topical solutions come as plain minoxidil, which is then converted into minoxidil sulfate by the body. I'm not going to bore you too much, but there are some types of needles. What we are using today is a solid microneedle. If you look at it, it will be a solid needle. You won't see any hollowness in it. But there are also coated microneedles, dissolving microneedles. Dissolving are the ones which you see in patches, where you apply the patch, the needles and the drug go inside the skin, and the patch can then be removed. And then you have hollow needles, usually used for vaccines. So this is solid. Alopecia scars, this is what we're going to do today. So they work as a poke-only mechanism. They only poke the skin and nothing beyond that. Then you have poke and flow, which means you have a hollow needle which is used in vaccines. The vaccine goes through the needle, and then the needle is rendered useless. And then you have poke and release, where I told you these are like hormonal patches. Anybody who's used pain patches for their patients or hormonal patches, hormonal therapy, HRT comes in the form of patches. So those are dissolving microneedles. And then there are coat and poke needles, which are commonly used for opioids, other pain patches, and even to wean people off nicotine. If anybody is interested, we had done a study long time back. This was 2019, and it's called Mission Impossible. And we speak about how to deliver drugs and especially PRP while using microneedling. This is the team that I'm very proud of. We used to work together when I was in a government hospital as an associate professor. And this is our department taking a skiing trip in Norway. I think, yeah, we're all very good at microneedling, I think, so that's good. Okay, the next part is exosome delivery. I'm going to combine both my lectures into one so we can move for the hands-on straight away. So how to deliver exosomes? The simplest is microneedling. You can see it on the slides. But any device which causes fractions or which causes channels in the skin, which are ablative or non-ablative, all of them can deliver. And don't get confused. Ablative means it goes through and through the skin, burning the epidermis and the dermis. A non-ablative device doesn't burn, it just causes channels which are transient. So a fractional radiofrequency device, which is microneedling RF, or a sublative RF device, you can use plain microneedling, you can use fractional CO2, you can use erbium glass, which is non-ablative, and you can also use, for example, in my practice, use a fractional Q-switched laser. I find that works brilliantly for melasma. I showed you a photo of melasma pre and post with fractional Q-switched and exosomes. So I'm using a tattoo device to do microneedling here. You can see the pinpoint erythema. Quite aggressive I am. I am actually a very restless person in my practice. I can finish 5 patches of vitiligo in under 10 minutes, and I like that in my practice because we don't like to waste too much time. And then you just apply the exosome on top. I'm using Exoco Bio here. So it's a little thicker, it's hyaluronic acid based. And we've got some very good results in vitiligo. I showed you one case in the morning also. This is microneedling radiofrequency for acne scars. And then I'm spreading the exosome on top. This one is called Exo Healer. It comes from Korea. It's not licensed to be used. We're going to do something like this today. We're going to needle the skin and just apply the exosome and wait for it to work. I'm very proud of my clinical roots. I still do a lot of clinical dermatology in my practice, both me and my wife. This is a case, he's actually a school friend of mine. He's the vice president of Citibank. He's a global head. He has atopic dermatitis. The first time I got hold of exosomes was when Exoco Bio came to India. I had met the CEO in Vietnam. He's a Korean guy, Byung Cho, does a lot of good work in exosomes. He gave me 10 vials to try. The first patient I called to try, and I did it free of cost obviously, was this friend of mine. He has had atopic dermatitis from the time I've known him in school. He has bad PIH. I wanted to prove the theory that exosomes can also work for clinical conditions. Exosomes are also marketed as a treatment for atopic dermatitis, psoriasis, vitiligo. He has atopic dermatitis plus PIH. I thought this is going to be the perfect case, and I think I have his pre-post photos. I'll try to look for it by the end of the day. He's got marvelous results. He's one of my old exosome patients who still comes in for exosomes. So if you use it properly, that's a good way of doing it. This is a fractional Q-switch device. You can, I don't know if you can notice, you get that small grid which you can see, and then you apply the exosome on top. And needless to say, you can use it for PIH and for the atopy itself, but obviously he has severe atopic dermatitis, so he's also on a JAK1 inhibitor, so obviously oral immunosuppressants along with topicals. One of my favorite treatments when people can't take needling, they don't want the pain of the needling, fractional Q-switch, this is, fractional erbium glass, this is 1540 nanometers, a fractional non-ablative laser, pretty much finish the entire scalp in 5 minutes and apply the exosome. So when we do exosomes with needling, we do a sandwich technique. I apply 1 ml of the exosomes first, then do the procedure, then apply another layer to finish it off. If there is any left, I give it to the patient to apply it within 24 hours of reconstitution. Fractional CO2 obviously is the king of anything fractional, so definitely you can use your procedures. What I've also noticed with exosomes is that they help the skin heal much faster. So your fractional CO2, usually with our skin type, the downtime is about 7 to 8 days. My patients heal in the 3rd or the 4th day after CO2. That's it. If there are any questions before we start the live demonstration, I would love to take them. Any questions about anything related to exosomes or needling or any of the devices which I showed?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Asim Sharma.
Does microneedling improve smile lines? Many people prefer to smile all the time. Some are most of the time grinning, not happy with their life, and their face shows that they are not so good all the day. So does it improve smile lines?
Sir, on its own, microneedling will improve smile lines, but it will take a lot of sessions to do that, especially if somebody has very deep furrows. We will need some kind of filler or something to add to that, what needling does. Microneedling is a very crude form of delivering collagen. But if I can give growth factors along with that, definitely combination will work well. But back in the days, we used to do full face rejuvenation using microneedling. It used to take us almost half an hour. And in government hospitals, we've done needling on, I've done needling on my HOD also, I think Smriti knows. So yeah, so I think it is a good device, but now that we know that you can add to the body's collagen by giving it growth factors in the form of exosomes or so many mesotherapy solutions or PDRN, or even your own blood, your own PRP or PRF, I would do something along with the needling just to boost the skin's collagen capacity.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, please.
So when we combine MNRF with exosomes, what I usually do is that after I do MNRF, I use exosomes. And if I have to go for the 2nd or 3rd pass, so do I need to wait for some time? Because I'm more concerned that the radio frequency heat might,
That's a great question. It's one of my favorite questions. So see, when we use microneedling RF, I showed you the Scarlett, right? Scarlett is a continuous wave RF. Now, what happens with exosomes is, unlike fillers, we now know fillers and boosters. People have done studies up to 100 degrees centigrade. They are thermostable, which means even if I heat the skin to 100 degrees centigrade, the exosomes, boosters, skin boosters, hyaluronic acid based, they won't break. They will be able to resist that thermal breakdown. We don't have the same kind of studies for exosomes. So what I do is I don't use a continuous wave of RF, I use a pulsed mode. If I don't have, so the Scarlett that I showed you is continuous wave. So in that, my energy is only 2 out of 10, 20%. If I'm using the other one, which I have Selena, I have a method there to use pulsed. I use a pulse, which means 20% of that will be RF, 20% will be plain, then 20% RF, then 20% plain. You're giving the skin gaps. In that, the skin doesn't heat up. Otherwise, continuous wave RF, if you use it at about 50%, skin will heat up to 40 degrees centigrade. Even I don't know if exosomes will be stable at that temperature. So I've asked a lot of companies, nobody's done those studies till now because everybody's promoting it only with needling. But I really feel MNRF itself is a great procedure, so to add exosomes will just be a much better option.
Thank you, sir.
So pulse your RF or keep the RF very low. Think of it as a needling device, जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा आप energy use कर रहे हो. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Asim Sharma.
Thank you for that wonderful session. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anurag Tiwari, third-year resident from KUSMS, and I'll briefly step in while our wonderful host, Dr. Aditya Mishra, is being prepared for some exosome magic. So it is time to felicitate the chairperson. For that, I'd like to kindly request Dr. Deepak Aryal to come up on stage and felicitate our chairperson, Professor Dr. Dwarika Prasad Shrestha. Let's welcome them with a round of applause. Thank you so much, sir. Now let's proceed with the live demonstration of full-face microneedling with exosomes. For that, I'd like to invite Dr. Asim again on the stage. Let's have him with a round of applause, which he definitely deserves.
Aditi, can you? So I think she has. I think she has very good skin. That's my personal opinion as a dermatologist. I could be wrong. But if we were to assess her without thinking that she's also a dermatologist, what would you do for her skin? और सोच लेना किसी का membership renewal है तो ठीक से बोलना. Under eye, I think everybody, right? All of us from this subcontinent, सबको under eye लगता है. All of us have hollow eyes. I think that's an ethnic thing, defect that we have. We can't really help it. Apart from under eye, hydration and HIFU. So we had I had the privilege of doing hands-on Botox for her during Sodvelon. So I think lower jawline bothers her also. So definitely HIFU is something that we can do. Submental and just for the lower jawline, just contouring. So that's a good suggestion. Anything else? So if she comes to you and we are doing exosomes, what will you promise her? What can she go back with when we do exosomes? That will decide if they call me back or not. Hydration, texture, कुछ तो बोलो यार, tone, texture, कुछ तो मिलेगा, something will get, or you think nothing will happen? Why are we sitting here then? Glow, definitely. So if nothing else, she will get glow. She might have a little tightening. I don't know with one needling and exosome session how much she'll get, but at least something. Tonal correction will start happening. Slight firming of the skin will happen. At least the open pores will look less open for now. I don't like the term open pores, but skin texture will become better, at least initially. So I think those are a few things that we can promise you. और number वहाँ के काटना, मेरे नहीं. In microneedling, there are different cartridges. Can anybody tell me number of needles and depth? What is the relationship? There are cartridges, so we are using nanopore today. Nanopore has 2 cartridges, 3 actually. One is linear, 2 are circular, one with 6, and one with... Nobody has the nanopore? Okay. Okay, so number of pins, how does it matter? Area we can cover. So when you're doing full face rejuvenation, you want to use more number of needles. And I want you to think of microneedling also as a laser. Like we talk about pulses, right? Or fractions. If I have 100 units to give, I'm distributing them in 36 pins. My energy per pin will be less. But if I have 100 units and I'm spreading them in 6, my needle will go deeper. I have more energy to give in a single pin. So the lower number of, this is reverse. The lower number of pins that you have in a needling device, the deeper it will go. When we do acne scars, we use the least possible number. So we would use 6 or 10. When I want to do full face rejuvenation, when my staff is just doing it as a part of a medifacial, we will do 36 pins. So that is what I want you to remember. If you look at nano needles, nano come in hundreds. They're very, very chotu. In fact, they're not needles. You know, it just barely scrapes the epidermis. They're not true needles. So that's good. So I'll show you the cartridges. If you can just show. You have linear also? तीनों दिखा दो. No. You don't have the... No. Okay, okay. So we have only 2. I anyways wanted to do 6. So when we are doing it as dermatologists and we want to give results, we should use a lower number of pins is what I feel. Unless you're doing it as a part of a combination therapy where you want to do multiple things. So, khol do dono. So Mona will show you the linear one. I'll just wear gloves because we want to use the circular one. Okay, so basically this comes up to 1.5. This is the needling device, the nanopore. Yeah, so it comes with these settings for depth. You can change the depth from 0 right up till 1.5. It doesn't go beyond 1.5. And this is how the device will guard the nose. So this is without the guard. To be able to get the right depth, you will use it with a guard. So this is the guard on top. Now you'll only see a part of the needle coming out. I'll just move it to 1.5, I think. Okay, so can all of you see? Like those needles coming out. Plus you have speeds in this. It's already on 6. You can reduce to 1 to 6. So there are 6 speeds by which we use the needling. So because our SecGen is on the table, we will use a stronger microneedling. We'll give her a good session, wake her up in the afternoon. And we'll also show the exosomes. I'll show you the other pin till then. So linear is usually used for hair. So for linear, what I do is I told you anything in a line, you will go linear with it. So you use a gliding motion. This is how you do it. I feel when you're using gliding with a linear method, you should not go beyond 1 millimeter depth. But when I'm going circular, you can go as high as you want. I've gone up to 2.5 millimeters depth also in certain scars, but make sure you're gliding it in circles then. Linear, stick to 1 to 1.25. That should be your limit. Dusra. See, Aditi, itna chota hai. Okay, so this is the one we'll use. Can you see this? I'll just move it towards the camera. So 6 pins. It looks very small, but we'll wait for her. We shouldn't scare her. It's okay. Okay, exosomes also. This is the one by Sesderma. It's called Exosis LB. This basically is lactobacillus derived. One vial has the actual exosome. The other vial has a revitalizing solution where they mix different things to make the exosome better. But the actual masala is in vial 1. So can you mix 1 and 2? हाँ, 1 exosome से कोई problem नहीं है. 2 कर दे. 1 pre and 1 post. So we'll apply the exosome first, then we'll do the needling, then we'll apply the exosome again. And you'll notice when I glide, if I have some solution, it's easier for me to glide. But back in the day when we didn't have fancy solutions, we've used gliders like I've used T-back ointment, mupirocin ointment also to glide, or mupirocin cream, or a moisturizer, or whatever sunscreen was available. So you can pretty much glide using anything, but these are nice, good meso solutions to use, and they give results also. 2 ml. 2 plus 2. मैं जब needling करूँगा भी तो you can spread. Cleaned. नहीं ठीक है कर दें थोड़ा सा. So I'll tell you a bit about the device till then. This comes with 2 different lithium ion charged batteries, so you can pretty much change it and use it. It also comes with a cord. Cord ka hai? Acha, niche, haan. So it also comes with a cord in case you are like us. It's my also I'll tell you in the morning, today I will use nanopore. So obviously it's not charged, so then you can use it with a cord, but cord has a length, fixed length, so you'll have to be close to a plug point. Ready. So we'll start with one, and we'll see. Okay, comfortable? So this is gliding. Can you see I'm just going in circles? And we're already starting to see some pinpoint bleeding. Erythema to aa gaya hai. We're getting some pinpoint bleeding. The other method is gliding. I'll show you that once, I think once I finish this part, when I go to the sides, I'll show you gliding. So in gliding, what you essentially do is, you glide. So basically you will go like, gliding is always head of the table, it's easier. So you start like this. You must have seen this in a lot of demos, especially with Dermapen World and all. थोड़ा सा मुझे यहाँ पे देना है. But I prefer, so I think it gives us faster pinpoint bleeding, it's easier to do, and very, very good for deeper scars. Can all of you see the pinpoint? Oh yeah, it's very clear. Nice. So always keep stretching the skin. बिल्कुल पेन नहीं हो रहा. थोड़ा डेप्थ कम करूं? 1. स्पीड तो 1 है. Better. I'll show you gliding over the cheeks. The medial cheek is the most painful area, so that is the area where we'll just do simple gliding. So you always glide like this in an S shape, finishing in the temple, and as you go down. You better, huh? You can also do the under eye area. I'll just show you. Only 0.5 I'll use, and just gliding. And under eye you always stretch a little bit. I'll just finish both the under eyes. ये ठीक है ना? So if you see, as I'm doing the needling also, Mona is spreading the exosomes. So this is called sandwiching. You can keep creating channels, feeding them with exosomes, and repeat the cycle till you get pinpoint bleeding. If patients can't tolerate it, which can happen, Aditi is strong, you can also just cause erythema, and that will also give you decent results. Just remember, you have to repeat every 15 days if you give erythema. If you're giving pinpoint bleeding, then once a month is good enough. थोड़ा सा Okay, upper lip is again very sensitive, so we'll see once. We'll reduce it to 1. Light drops. Comfortable? Okay, last, just under eye पे, to balance both sides. Done. Give her a big round of applause. She took it like a good sport. एक ml बचा हुआ है ना? जितना लगा सकती है, बाकी give it to her. She can apply it while sitting. Any questions? Fairly simple, right? But do you think it's simple to do? Easiest thing to start adding, right? I would say low technical skills needed for it. I mean, you have to know something. You have to know how to handle skin, but it's a good place to start. Hear me? This can be done on the hair also. Do you want me to show a hair demo as well? It's usually done in crisscross. Only the hairline. सिर्फ उस पे करते हैं. Come. One ml hairline and front. One. हाँ. 1 and 2 का 1. Okay, when can we wash the face? Any answers? We have just applied exosomes. We wanted to penetrate a bit. So when should we ask patients to wash their face? 2 hours. So usually 2 hours from now, but in case they have to get out and go into the, like a public space, we apply sunscreen also on top of that and send them across, and then we tell them not to touch their face. Or if they want a hair, like a face mask, that is also fine. Makeup, usually 2 to 3 days hence. Like no makeup for 2 to 3 days is what I tell patients. Because what happens is, especially if you use powders and you're using those deep makeups like a primer or a base foundation, then it can get very powdery and it can actually get into the pores. So not a good idea. Pores usually close up in hours, okay? It doesn't stay on for a long time, but even a superficial abrasion that remains, you don't want any, contact with any kind of makeup. So, okay, there is a difference between the two. So essentially, they come with the same source, but the hair one is slightly thinner. And this happens when you use other exosome brands as well. For example, in Exoco Bio, the skin one is made with hyaluronic acid, sodium hyaluronate. It's slightly thicker. Whereas the hair one is almost always made with distilled water or normal saline, which also tells you that initially when the products were made, the hair one was meant to be injected. I'm saying it on camera. Please don't inject it, but we have injected it in the past and got very good results. It depends on the formulation. Something which is made thin is made to be injected, loaded into an insulin syringe and injected. Exosys LB, you can barely load into an insulin syringe, like it's very thick. So if once we do the hands-on, you'll see the consistency also. Same. क्या face के growth factors काम नहीं करेंगे? Okay, come. Now we'll know how our tolerance is because this is without numbing. Thank you. Clean. वो decrease कर रहा है? Decrease. Okay, any idea for, so for face I showed you multiple settings. For hair, what should my depth be? .5. We are trying to get to the stem cell bulge, that is 1 to 1.8 millimeters below the skin surface. 1.5, but even if you go up till 1, you will be able to hit that area, so that should be fine. मुझे बताना कितना हो रहा है शुरू करके वो 1 ml. Okay, so with hair you want to part the hair so that they don't get stuck in your needle. Again, circular is what I prefer, but the linear probe that comes with the needle, that is what they recommend for hair. I still prefer needling in circles. I'm just used to it. मैं वो linear भी दे देना, I'll show that also. If the Sesrama people come and train you, they will train you on the linear cartridge, like they trained us. Healthy, okay? Better than the face? So numbing की ज़रूरत ही नहीं थी. Next time without numbing. थोड़ा स्पीड बढ़ा लूँ एयर में ना थोड़ा सा थिक होता है ना टेक्स लॉन्ग Can you all notice the pinpoint bleeding? आपको थोड़ा सा इस साइड से Can you see? Everybody can appreciate pinpoint bleeding. That is your endpoint for needling. हो गया एक सेकंड I'll just show एक मैं linear वाला दिखा देता हूँ spirit Okay, so this is one of the first, I think the world's first linear needling. It was meant for this, so that even when you part the hair, you can do this. It's a little more painful. I feel circles we tolerate well. Lines are, but obviously it's faster. I've already achieved pinpoint bleeding. So in this, even if I don't part the hair, I let it be just as it is. My hair won't get stuck in this. That is the advantage of linear. Sometimes when you're doing with a circular probe, your needle gets stuck. The hair gets stuck in the cartridge. And that can cause traction. And when patients are comfortable, then you can do back and forth and pretty much finish sections quite fast. But it is a little more painful for Aditi also, I think. You're getting pain? Thoda sa. This is linear. वो circular था. हाँ. Back and forth तो is just shorter, na? Bas, almost done. And done. So one more round of applause, please. 2 cartridges in 1 day, skin and hair done. इसका कैप कहाँ पे है? अच्छा, ध्यान देना. 24 hours. 24 hours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Aditi. Now it is time for the hands-on, and I'd like to invite the first batch of the workshop. Here are the names. Prabesh Luitel, Josna Shrestha, Anjali Shrestha, Sabita Aryal, Surendra Sapkota, Sharad Shrestha, Vishnu Prasad Adhikari, Shivendra Kumar Jha, Sumit Paudel, and Nabita Vatrai. Please come up on stage and we'll start with the hands-on workshop. Thank you.
Now I'm chairing the session which is most interesting and booming in the aesthetic field of dermatology. Earlier we used to say fillers, toxins. The now is regenerative medicine. Regenerative aesthetic dermatology is coming up like anything. Like those who are attending international conferences, like IMCAS, just we are discussing about Dr. Elisa, Dr. Smriti. So all international from, they always talk about the regenerative medicine, that is PN, polynucleotides, PDRN, exosomes. So now here, I would like to invite Dr. Smriti, one of the eminent aesthetic dermatologists and hair transplant surgeon. And it's an honor to invite you, Dr. Smriti, here. We'll learn so many things about the polynucleotides and polydeoxyribonucleotides. So over to you, Dr. Smriti.
Good evening, everyone. I think we're coming to the end of the discussion for today, and I'll be talking very briefly about PN and PDRN, which most of you are already well versed with. I think in the morning there was a brief discussion done on this already, so my presentation is going to be very brief. So we'll be talking about PN versus PDRN, whether they are the same entity or slightly different, what are the indications, as well as what's the research evidence. To date back to history, PDRN, not PN, PDRN was initially known to have a wonderful wound healing capacity and regenerative capacity, not just only skin, but other wounds as well as in the joint and other areas. So from then, their role in skin aesthetics has now been revealed over the last few years. So PDRN, Profilo, and skin boosters, they're all categorized under the field of biorevitalization. These are the products that revitalize the skin in the layer of collagen, generally. So they boost collagen as well as the extracellular matrix. So PDRN, you can look it up as a product that heals. So they are more useful in red, inflamed skin as well as skin that has sensitivity, while similar product, but a different ingredient, Profilo. Profilo usually comprises of, we all know, that high and low molecular weight hyaluronic acid. So they are more into hydration and lifting capacity, while skin boosters, which contain only low molecular weight hyaluronic acid, such as Skin Vive, Vital, they usually are helpful in improving the hydration only. So PDRN falls in the category of regenerative capacity, while skin booster usually doesn't have a regenerative capacity, but they are all categorized in the category of skin boosters. Okay, so by definition, PDRN and PN, they are both DNA polymers, but they are of different wavelength, different sizes. And I hope this video will play. Back was results. My video. Hus. I'm sure there's going to be a demonstration today here. This is a very brief video about under eyes PDRN. It's a very simple technique of intradermal injections under the eye where we create blebs. The product that I used was not very painful compared to other polynucleotides that are available in the market, and the result was quite amazing, better than what I had expected, better than what the patient had expected. All right, let's go to the other slide. So now talking about the differences between PDRN and PN. They are molecules with different sizes, and I'm sure we all know about. The basic difference being PDRN is more regenerative. It has more capacity to heal. So it stimulates fibroblast, it stimulates angiogenesis. So these are more important in areas where there's hypoxia, areas where there's inflammation, especially skin damage caused by pollution, skin damage caused due to red sensitive skin, people who have telangiectasia, people who have hot flushes. I think so many of us know that in our clinics now patients are coming more and more with red sensitive face. So this heals red sensitive face much better. I'm talking about PDRN here because these are smaller molecule and they have a more cellular mechanisms, while PN is slightly larger molecule. It's a 3D polymer which consists of the polynucleotide. The mechanism of action of PN is considered to be similar to PDRN, but these are bigger structures. That's why they have more role in hydration and they have more role in building structural support. Sometimes PDRN is also called a biofiller or a biomimetic filler because they have the capacity to fill or volumize to an extent. Not as much as a filler, but to an extent they do volumize. I don't think I should go with the molecular mechanism. All we need to understand is they have ability to cause angiogenesis, ability to fight inflammation. They also have the ability to produce DNA. They break down, the PDRN breaks down into different DNAs and incorporates into new DNA, forming newer cells. So they are more of reparative molecules. So what we expect in the mechanism is cellular regeneration, tissue repair, anti-inflammation, and angiogenesis. So coming to what we expect on a clinical basis is there is increased collagen synthesis, there is improved extracellular matrix leading to enhanced hydration, decreased wrinkle depth, as well as improved skin elasticity. I'm sure all of us are doing PDRN in our clinic, right? It's not a very difficult procedure to do. And PDRN being a very small molecule, the biological half-life is very small, but then their pharmacodynamic effect, that is the results that stay, the results are much longer than the pharmacokinetics of the product. Normally, a PDRN treatment would last anywhere between 3 weeks to 3 months, while PN may last a bit longer. So common indications are, normally we can do it, these are all mixed. The indications are mixed here. You can do, for example, if you're doing PN, you can do it for crow's feet. I've done PN with HA in crow's feet and it works very well. While if you're looking for sensitive skin, dullness, and if you're looking for scar because you want to regenerate, right? So in scars, we go for PDRN, and scar treatments are slightly more superficial. And as I said before, the crow's feet, wrinkles, and lines, when you're doing PN, there are some products which contain PN and HA both. These are more viscous, they are more stable, and they would last a bit longer than a traditional PN or a traditional PDRN. So people who don't want to go for fillers, I myself had an experience. I tried to do my filler in Korea recently, and I was denied filler by the doctor because they are saying, as Dr. Dharmendra rightly said, fillers are obsolete now, and he said, no, I'm not going to do your filler. I somehow convinced him and did my under eyes, but then he also emphasized, and I did a PDRN as well alongside PN, alongside the filler, because filler do not have any kind of regenerative potential, while PDRN can. So if you're looking at a younger patient, I think if we are looking at people in their 20s, people in their early 30s who have just started to get periorbital wrinkles, they don't want to go for Botox, I think these are the right candidates to start PDRN with. And again, we cannot underemphasize the fact that the pollution is increasing, global warming is increasing, and I'm sure we all have seen news of heat waves in Europe right now. So all of this is leading to sensitive skin as well as sensitive scalp. Everybody's having redness, lots of hair fall, lots of sensitivity in the skin leading to vessels and products intolerance. Like when you put a product, then they're not tolerating the product. So whoever have done skin boosters, I'm sure your patient have come back and said that the flushing has decreased. Have they? Do patients come back and say after doing, especially in my experience, especially after skin weave, patients do come back and say the flushing and heat and the kind of rosacea-like picture has decreased. And I think for the hair, PDRN does that job, but it is much less lasting because PDRN are smaller molecules. So the indications, I'll just add on to the indication we've already talked about. You can do the neck, you can do the decolletage, you can do the hair. We can also do the crepey skin, older patients. In older patients who have lost the elasticity, it also brings back the elasticity. So the elasticity can be improved by the PDRN. This is another application, and I've been doing these kind of PN plus HA fillers lately, and I'm in love with them. I think it's the middle ground between fillers and PN alone, because as I said, in PN, the results do not come immediately. And sometimes the patient will say that I spent so much, there are no results. I don't see much when you're doing, I paid, for example, I paid 20,000 rupees for one product and then there's no results. But then we have to explain to the patient that PN is something that'll take time. It's very slow. But then there are some studies which I'll just run through in the end. So studies show that when you're doing a periorbital, there's a split phase study with Rejuran versus another HA filler. So the split phase study shows that a periorbital wrinkle improved immediately, instantly in week 0 with HA. But then the periorbital wrinkle improved later and stayed longer with the Rejuran. I think it was week 28. At week 28, there were still results left with Rejuran, but then there was no result left with HA because HA gets metabolized in the body and it's a very immediate thing that doesn't give you any kind of regeneration. So that we have to tell the patient, because otherwise in the beginning of the practice, it can be, if your patient does not trust you completely, completely, which is very common nowadays. So in those cases, I think you have to tell them in advance that this will take time. This is something that will build. So as Dhamin sir just said, that fillers used to fill. There was a time when we used to just treat the symptoms. Now we are looking at stopping the clock or reversing the clock. Maybe this is one of the modalities where we are looking for prejuvenation. I'm sure we have all heard the word. So this will probably help for prejuvenation in younger patients as well. People in the early 20s who have slight of dark circles, few lines under the eyes which cannot be treated with Botox. So these are also good candidate. So coming back to the dermal fillers, normal HA fillers, as we know, are cross-linked with BDDE, which have the cytotoxic potential, and they also cause oxidative stress. And I also found recently that it can also have pro-inflammatory cytokine release during those fillers. So this doesn't have that. And the big risk of vascular occlusion also isn't there in PN. And again, what do you call it? The drawback would be the delayed onset and slow. And there is pain. Usually PDRN and PN, if you don't have lidocaine along with it, it is quite painful. It is quite much painful. So that also has to be told to the patient, because every product doesn't come with lidocaine. So these are the hybrid fillers which have the advantage of both, and these are, I think, the future. There are few studies on these. The longevity of these are not as much as there are fillers, of course, because these are less cross-linked. They're usually non-cross-linked HA. These are not cross-linked HA, so non-cross-linked HA, as we know, does not have risk of those vascular occlusion. But again, because it's non-cross-linked, it will not last very long. The result that you promise is maximum of 6 months. So these are the necklines of those combined HA and PN. And another one is under eyes, which is also quite good. These are not my patients, but the patients from the product company. And this is under eye crow's feet, which is also improved well, and scars also look better. There's not great change in the scar, but the wrinkles improve better. Similarly, there is a promising role. There are just 2 or 3 studies where they have talked about hair regeneration in FPHL, and the interesting thing is not just the density and caliber increases, but even the hair, the shaft caliber, the hair shaft diameter has also increased when it has been done with thulium laser, and I think we don't have thulium laser here, so let's hope in future. I think Dr. Asim has some experience with erbium and some fractionated laser in the hair, which I think has a great potential in the future, but as of now, I'm not aware of anybody doing it here, and I'm hopeful in future we'll be doing this, which is, I think, this will solve the problem of collagen loss as well as sensitivity of the scalp. And these are some of the studies which I'll not go through individually, but these, if you want, you guys can go back and read them, which are quite promising. But most of the studies are Korean studies, so the whole paper is not available, so you'll just get snippets of the abstracts there. And besides aesthetic applications, PDRN have also been used in general dermatology, and Dharmin sir and I were discussing that there are roles outside of aesthetics as well. So there is role in LSC, lichen simplex chronicus, there is role in vaginal dryness, vaginal itching, and there's upcoming role in lots of other things. And Dr. Asim had explained about the role in atopy of exosomes. So similarly, I'm hopeful that since these have good regenerative capacity, the role in other non-aesthetic indications are also going to be published in time to come. So they can also be used as a priming agent before the procedure, because just like exosomes, they have good healing tendency. The technique has, I think, been done and dusted today, multiple times explained already. So you can use it as a micro deposits, you can use it with microneedling, you can do linear fanning. In acne scar, normally sometimes when I do subcision, I also fan the PDRN along with it, although you would want PDRN to be more superficial. So you can do both, you can combine both in people who have very difficult scars. And the frequency, so frequency is, the main important thing to understand is, I think, the viscosity. That's 40 mg per 2 ml is done in thicker areas of the skin, while 15 mg per 2 ml is done in sensitive skin, and very little amount, 7.5 mg per 2 ml is done in periocular area. So that viscosity should be, I think, followed, so that you don't end up doing wrong areas and leading to swelling and all that. And the frequency that you do PDRN is every 3 weeks for 3 sessions. Or in older patients who have laxity, up to 4 sessions is recommended. So every 3 weeks for 3 to 4 sessions. Ask them to come back in 6 months. And in that 6 months, we decide whether we do again the same cycle or we just do touch-up every 6 months, depending on the patient's need, age, laxity, scarring. So depending on the indication, then we change likewise according to the patient's need and willingness as well. Because of the pain, the willingness may be slight of an issue. So the adverse effects generally are temporary. It's mainly the visible, cosmetically unacceptable kind of blebs that can appear with the microdosing technique. So in some patients, if people who have fish allergy may end up having allergy with PDRN, but then if you look at the studies, they say that since it is desensitized. It has already been desensitized. The products are desensitized, so they generally does not cause allergy, even in people who may have fish allergy. But I think it applies only to the standard products like Rejuran. If we are taking a regular brand, then maybe this we may not be able to assure, so we have to ask about fish allergy as well. And there are newer sources of polynucleotide that are coming up because this came out of, I think, the animal safety kind of concept. So they're using ginseng, they're using rose PDRN, and the study on rose PDRN, I've kept this study here because they talk very beautifully about what pollution does to our skin. I didn't keep this because I wanted to talk about, this one said well about PDRN, but they talked very beautifully about what pollution does to skin, and this study shows that the cytotoxicity, autophagy, cellular damage that is caused by pollution has been reversed by these rose PDRN, and which is very, very important in today's time. Now going to the summary, I think it has a great regenerative potential. It improves skin quality, but the highlight is it can also be used as a bioremodeling fillers. But however, the studies are limited till date, so more studies shall come to be able to completely differentiate between the exact indication, difference in indication between PDRN and PN. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smriti. I would like to invite the audience, if you have any query, any questions, any doubt, you can ask Dr. Smriti.
Thank you, Dr. Smriti.
Thank you, sir.
Most of the images we produce in our lectures are of female. I think male are also equally, they want to be more pretty, look more younger, not like me, like a white beard like that. Okay, it doesn't, even my, under my white skin, the skin is still good.
Young.
So why we don't keep the images of male? Because many male would
think
like
that's
to do
because,
this PRP
yes.
and
Yes,
PN
sir.
and all those exosomes and all that. This is one question. The second question is, you talked about fish. We derive this DNA-derived extract from fish, right? And what kind of fish? Is it salmon? Or?
Salmon, trout, and sperm.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. So what will be the first question? The
First
answer?
question, sir. I think up to 75% aesthetic practices in the world are mainly in women right now, but the male aesthetics is also changing. In conferences that we attend nowadays, outside of Nepal, international conferences, there are lots of focus on male aesthetics. There are sessions dedicated to male aesthetics. In the context of Nepal, I think till now men are very happy with how they look and how they age, but that'll change. I believe that'll change, and we should also encourage that. And I'll take your advice as well, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any question, please? I have one query.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Smriti,
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So most of the PDRN and PN comes with the hyaluronic acids. So have you come across vascular occlusion for last couple of years you must be using? So have you come across risk of vascular occlusion?
Luckily, I have had only one vascular occlusion with HA filler. That was also very renowned brand. With PDRN, the beauty is that the HA that's used along with PDRN is either non-cross-linked HA or these are different kind of HA. I think, I forgot the name. These are patented molecules which are not actually a cross-linked one. So they usually don't have issues of vascular occlusion.
Thank you. Just
Thank
I
you,
wanted to highlight this point because most of the people, they have fear of the vascular occlusion. So PDRN are safe, PNs are safe for those who have fear of vascular occlusion. It's very safe. I've been using this, but there are some case reports. There are some case reports indicates there is a chance of 1%. Recently, one article has been published in the vitro. So what they did is they inject intravascular injection in the mouse, and other mouse intravascular PN. So hyaluronic acid area was necrosis, whereas PN area was not compromised. So that's conclude that PN and polynucleotides are safer for the vascular occlusion.
In fact, they should regenerate a vessel, if anything. So the problem is that PDRN and PN, they come in combination with hyaluronic acid. We use nucleoskin in India. Smriti is aware, she's used it with me. So that is weakly cross-linked, partially cross-linked hyaluronic acid, but it is very weakly cross-linked. The one that we are using today, Remedium, that is sodium hyaluronate. It is not really hyaluronic acid. Yes. It is that very low molecular weight, non-cross-linked hyaluronic acid, which you get in ophthalmology, that powder that you get. So non-cross-linked hyaluronic acid, even if it enters a vessel, it is absolutely safe. It's that partially cross-linked hyaluronic acid which Smriti got a reaction to, like an occlusion to, which can block the vessel. When something can be removed by the body completely, it will not react. When something can create a clump which the body can't dissolve, that is when you'll get an occlusion. And that happens in fillers or low G prime boosters also.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
So now we have another speaker, Dr. Tapan Pradhan. Dr. Tapan Pradhan is a consultant dermatologist and aesthetic dermatologist with a hair transplant surgeon. Dr. Tapan will be discussing on BAP technique mapping for the face. Over to you, Dr. Tapan.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank Sodvelon and Madam President for giving me this wonderful opportunity. So today my topic is BAP technique mapping over the face only. There are BAP technique mapping for neck and body parts as well, but I will be dealing with the face only. So BAP technique is bioaesthetic point. It is a standardized injection protocol that places product at 5 predetermined anatomical points per side of the face. So total of the 10 points. It was originally developed by a Swiss company called IBSA Derma specifically for Profilo. Profilo is a combination of cooperative hyaluronic acid complex consisting of both high molecular weight and low molecular weight on cross-linked hyaluronic acid. So high molecular weight provides support while lower molecular weight spreads easily over the dermal plane. So it has got advantages of both the world. So the product can diffuse through the planes. So along with Profilo, nowadays the BAP technique mapping has been used in various other products like skin boosters, polynucleotides and PDRNs, collagen stimulators, and amino acid and hydration boosters as well. So why 5 points and not 40, like in traditional grid methods? So in BAP technique, there are 10 standardized, predetermined, and strategically placed points, 5 each on each sides. So when there are only 10 points, there are few needle passes going on. So there is less chances of complications, less bruising, less pain. Patients are more comfortable, and the sessions take usually less time than usual traditional grade technique. So these are the 5 points over the face. Number 1 is on the highest point of cheekbone, just above the zygomatic arc. Second point is on the bridge of the nose. Third one is on the ear ridge. Fourth on the chin, and fifth on angle of the jaw. So I'll be dealing with all the 5 points and why we choose it, the rationale behind each point. So these points are not spread over the face by just measuring, but it is placed according to the anatomical structures below, avoiding critical vascular points, and also taking in mind so that the product can spread below the skin easily and without much disturbance. So first, thing is the ligament anchoring. Points are deliberately positioned near the major facial retaining ligaments, such as the zygomatic and mesenteric ligaments, to provide underlying structural support and combined laxity. And also for the optimal diffusion. The BAP map takes advantage of the natural tissue planes and specific flow properties of the solution. As I said before, the hybrid complex of the Profilo, it allows it to be spread naturally in the tissue plane, almost in two-dimensional nature. So depositing a small amount of boluses in these focal points allows continuous and even two-dimensional diffusion across the face. Vascular and neural safety. The designated points are located in safe zones, purposefully avoiding the major arteries like facial artery and the other nerve branches. Adipose tissue receptivity. The malar and submalar regions are areas prone to deep fat pad atrophy and severe dermal thinning during the natural aging process. Treating these areas stimulates fibroblast activity, collagen, and elastin production, where aging is most visibly pronounced. So this figure shows the ligaments over the face, separating the fat pads, and on these ligaments, the dermis and the smash are in closer continuity, so that the bolus, when deposited in these tracts, along consistent tissue planes instead of pulling within a single fat compartment. The product can diffuse very easily. A relative safe margin, since ligaments are less vascular than other parts, so there is less chances of hitting an artery or vessel when we inject on these points. Also, predetermined points helps in producing the same results despite the change of the injector, the change of the place. Anywhere the patient may go, the results may be reproduced. So I'll start with the first point of the injection. My nurse was kind enough to lend me her face so that I could scribble. So for the first point, we identified the zygomatic arc, and just above the highest point of zygomatic arc, we take 2 centimeters from the outer canthus of the eye and mark the spot. So, zygomatic protrusion, most prominent point of the zygomatic arch, 1 to 2 centimeter lateral to lateral canthus or outer corner of the eye. We provide a bolus of 0.2 ml in case of Profilo, about 2 to 4 millimeter depth, which is in deep dermis. So how do we know if it's in the deep dermis? There is a slight bleb front, but without any blanching. Also, another method that I learned was when we inject and just pull the needle upward, if we see the needle shape but no color change, and also then we know that it's in the deep dermis. If we move the needle up and we cannot make out the shape of the needle, it's usually in subcutaneous region. The clinical rationale why we choose this point it is the most superior point in the map. It initiates the upward diffusion vector across the midface. It sits on a broad bony shelf well clear of orbital rim and periorbital vessels, giving a wide safety margin from the eye. Anatomically, it is also the anchor point for zygomatic returning ligament, which favors even spread along the upper cheek. So coming to point 2, we draw a perpendicular line on the mid-pupillary line. Next, we join the ala of the nose to the tragus. The intersecting point, which is usually 1.5 to 2 centimeters from the ala of the nose, is the second point. So in mid-cheek, as I demonstrated, so here also the bolus is same and the depth is same. So clinical rationale is it anchors the central midface. The densest superficial vessel of the nasal side wall lie middle to the point. So the facial artery, which enters the face from the inferior anterior insertion of the masseter. So it comes and it runs, giving branches to superior and inferior labial artery. Then it runs on nasolabial fold, giving nasal artery, runs as an angular artery, and then anastomosis with the dorsal nasal branch of deeper ophthalmic artery, which is a branch of internal carotid artery. So all these branches are usually avoided when we inject on that point. Coming to point 3. So point 3 is we take the lower margin of the tragus and just about 1.5 to 2 centimeter, we mark the spot. We avoid going above the tragus because of important anatomical structures, as I will say hence. So the direction of approach is safety feature here, not just the location. Moving anteriorly and inferiorly keeps the needle clear of superficial temporal artery and auricular temporal nerve, both running just above and behind this point. It also delivers lateral face and jawline coverage that the more middle points cannot reach on their own. Point 4. So one method is to draw a straight line from the chin to the lip. We divide the line into 3 parts. So from the upper third, we measure about 1.5 centimeters later, and then we mark the point. So another easier one is we draw another line from the angle of the mouth, and we draw a cross. So the point comes almost on the same point as before. So we can choose either of the methods. So the only midline point is in the protocol. The mental nerve exists laterally, roughly below the second premolar, which is usually avoided in this point, since it is slightly medial and superior. And from this point, diffusion bridges across the entire lower face, perioral region, completing the lower third coverage. The last point, we find out the angle of the mandible, we mark it, and just above the mandibular angle, about 1 to 2 centimeters, we mark the spot. So this defines and refreshes the jawline contour and is the last link bridging the cheekbones to the chin point along the lower face, ensuring continuous coverage along the entire jaw rather than an isolated zone. It anchors near the mesenteric ligament, supporting lateral diffusion toward the jaw. So coming to the vascular and neural danger zones. So the facial artery, as I said the course before, point 4, 2, 4, and 5 sit lateral to the path. Superficial temporal artery, so to avoid it, the tragus point is deliberately put anteriorly and inferior to the tragus so that this is missed. And transverse facial artery, the point 1 sits just above it, and point 2 and 3 sits just below it. And mental nerve and foramen sits laterally, roughly below the second molar. Point 4 sits medial and superior to the point. So this picture shows all the arteries that I mentioned, and we put these points to avoid the arteries shown in the picture. So depth and the bolus method. So why deep dermis specifically? So when too shallow, superficial dermis or epidermis, the product cannot diffuse properly. It is more likely to be visible or cause irregularities. It may cause bleb that patient usually complain. So too deep, when you are in a subcutaneous fat, the wheel will not form, signaling suboptimal diffusion. They will get trapped in the fat compartment. So diffusion, so 2 to 4 mm deep dermis window is the balance point, deep enough to diffuse along facial planes, shallow enough to stay out of the fat compartment. So there are some differences between the BAP technique and the traditional grid. Though BAP technique is not a replacement for traditional grid, because there are some advantages while following the traditional grid in other products like skin boosters. So BAP technique is important because there are few passes, there are only 10 injections, the treatment time is less, there is less trauma, there is less bruising, less complications. The mechanism it relies on is quite scientific. The diffusion is good on both the sides. and the landmark is easy enough to be reproducible to by all the doctors. So post-treatment care and warnings, what is to be expected is visible papules, bumps at each point, resolving in usually 24 to 48 hours, mild tenderness and minor swelling, small bruises at some injection sites. Usually, heat is usually avoided after the session, like hot yoga or spa treatments or stimulus or heavy exercises for 24 to 48 hours. Makeup is usually avoided for at least 6 hours after the treatment, and we do not advise to massage the face. And if at any point there is severe pain at the injection site, or if there's blanching, color change, if there is visual disturbances, we know that we've hit an artery or a vessel, and the hyaluronic acid has traveled. But as Dr. Smithy and Sir previously said, the uncross-linked has lesser chances of vascular occlusion. Even then, it's a hyaluronic acid, so we should be careful. So, and if there is any signs of infections, we should deal with it accordingly. So with this, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tapan. It's well stated, well explained by a point. So now, any question, please? Audience, any questions? If not, I have one question. I would like to ask all the two speakers, Dr. Smriti, Dr. Tapan. I would like to invite Dr. Asim. Dr. Asim, are you here? Okay. Most commonly asked question is, by our clients, doctor, is polynucleotides and PDR, is it painful? So how do you take up this question? Is it painful?
So it's an injection. When, like Tapan showed how the bioaesthetic point technique is done, minimal injection, so 5 on each side. I think with that it becomes less painful, but PDR and PN, they don't burn like other peptides burn. So it's only the injection pain which you will get, but it's not painful as such. It is much less painful than doing other skin boosters where you have to inject 40 injections on each side of the face.
Dr. Smith, what's your experience?
As Dr. Asim said, it is somewhat painful, especially the ones that have higher molecular weight, and the ones that I'm using right now, they are pretty painful. So I think it varies between type also. And I've done Rejuran on my own face. Rejuran is not painful. So I think it's not a platform to talk about an individual brand, but still depends on the brand. Rejuran does not hurt. And there was another one that I showed in the video, which we couldn't play. So that brand also did not hurt the patient, but it varies between individuals. The one Dr. Asim said, we've been using from India, pretty popular brand from India, but that one hurts very bad. Because I've done it on my hand. When the patient said the pain was so bad, I tried it on my hand and it was burning.
The product I've been using is for the last 2 years, the Remedium PDRN. Yeah, so Remedium contains PDRN, hyaluronic acid, and niacinamide. So niacinamide causes a bit burning. Yeah, recently I attended one panel discussion. It was very hot panel discussion on polynucleotides. Renowned speakers from US, Middle East, and Korea, and Thailand. Conclusion was, if you are injecting PDRN or polynucleotide, if it's not painful, then it's not polynucleotides. I don't know. But the product I'm using is painful. That's why. What I do in my practice, I give one trial test over one of the BAP point. I will ask the client, select one point.
Correct.
Then if it is C or he can tolerate, then I go for BAP point. Otherwise, I'll use cannula. If C or he is very scary about the cannula, then I will use micro.
And apply it.
Yes. Or you can combine with the laser, energy-based device, then topical
Just fractionate and then apply the PDRN or PNO.
The result is equally good, but not as.
It is licensed for injection by EMA in Europe. That is why all of us inject it. And I think injection gives us the best results. That is why we are still little skeptical about exosomes, because it's only application. We don't know how much of it penetrates, whether it reaches the right concentration. I mean, it's nanosomal, so it does reach. But with PDRN, you are sure if you inject it in the under eye, you will get results. Yeah. So, but yes, I think I don't know if whether to agree or disagree, but because Rejuran doesn't pain at all, nucleoskin pains, geosmatic doesn't pain at all. So I think it's something about the excipients that are used, not the PDRN itself. Rejuran is 2.5% pure PDRN. PN, sorry.
Oh, it's not painful?
Not at all. Okay. Not at all.
Do you get Rejuran in India, Dr. Sim? Do you get Rejuran in India?
We have a distributor, sir. Then he went off, so I get it from Korea off and on.
Because I've asked the Rejuran people in Korea, they have not launched in India yet.
They have a distributorship.
But they have a distributor.
Distributors are basically,
you know, there is a gray, there is a gray
you
market.
know how they carry things in India.
So be careful if you're using a Rejuran, if you're buying somewhere, some others make sure the reliability of the Rejuran. Thank you very much. So thank you, Dr. Tapan. Just wonderful talk for the back points. Thank you, Dr. Smriti. So thank you. Thank you, Sodvelon, Dr. Manisha, to invite me to chairing the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we begin the live demonstration, let's take a moment for felicitation, sir, please. Starting with the chairperson of this session, of course. For this, I'd like to invite Dr. Manisha Singh Basukala, ma'am, to felicitate our esteemed chairperson, Professor Dr. Dharmendra Karan, sir. It's a privilege to have them on stage, both of my mentors. Let's welcome them with a round of applause, please. I request Dr. Dharmendra sir, please stay on the stage to felicitate our speakers of the day. Starting with Dr. Asim Sarma, please kindly come on stage to receive the token of appreciation. We really appreciate this session that you've conducted so brilliantly. Dr. Asim Sarma, can we have him on the stage? Yes, there he is. Thank you so much, sir. Let's have a round of applause, please. A huge one. Next, may I invite Dr. Manisha Singh to kindly come forward to receive token of appreciation, ma'am. Please come on the stage. Thank you so much. I would like to now call upon Dr. Sajana Bandari ma'am to kindly receive a token of appreciation. Now I'd like to call Dr. Suchana Marahatta to please come forward and receive the token of appreciation, please. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Smriti Shrestha ma'am to kindly receive the token of appreciation. And finally, may I request Dr. Tapan Pradhan to kindly come up on stage and receive the token of appreciation. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks, sir. Now, let's start with the live demonstration of PDRN, the BAP technique. As we come towards the end of the session, I'd like a moment to express our gratitude to all our esteemed speakers, chairperson, faculty, sponsors, of course, and participants for making this program a great success. We hope the scientific discussion and hands-on sessions have provided valuable insights for all of you, and hopefully it will enhance your clinical practice. And we'd like to tell you that there's a high tea as well, so enjoy some little snacks before we look at the live demonstration, followed by the hands-on. So I'll be leaving the stage for now.
live demonstration and then hands-on. So a lot of you know her quite well. You know Pratiksha, many of you. This table at least knows Pratiksha well. But if she were to come to you for a procedure, how would you assess her? What do you think she needs? And be gentle, okay? Acne scar treatment, good. What else? Under eye? That's it. I agree. I agree. I would also, if I am treating the scars, I would want to give her something stimulatory so that she's starting to get those nasolabial folds. How old are you, if I can ask you? 40. So I think she's got good skin for 40, but we can definitely prevent the nasolabial fold sagging. She doesn't have any jowling today, but you can make out that she might have jowling in future. So while we're at it, we should do something which can cover all these things, prevent further aging, and treat whatever volume deficit we have. So she will actually be a very good candidate to do PDRN with a cannula very deep, but we are going to do the BAP technique today because it's her first time injecting. You've injected something before? She's on skin booster, so good. So we can probably continue the skin boosters, but today I'll show you bioaesthetic point technique. Tapan has spoken about BAP. Everybody knows now how to mark out the 5 points on each side. I feel it's one of the easiest procedures to do. Doesn't take too much time. You're away from most major vessels. If you do it well, you won't even bruise a patient. And it's a very early way of doing a preventive aging volume correction kind of thing, where you're not adding too much volume to the face, but you're able to, give decent results by using a PDRN-based skin booster. The PDRN we'll use today is called Remedium. You already heard about the brand. It's my first time using the brand. I've heard about it, but never used it. And it has niacinamide instead of glutathione, which can make it a little stingy. I've heard it burns a bit. So bear with us. We'll see how to make it better for you. I think Mona is around the corner. Huh? She's come. Marker. White, huh? White. चल जाएगा, हो जाएगा. नहीं, just we'll assess setting. So let me just turn you to this side, Pratiksha. So she will benefit from treatment on this side for sure. When I do BAP technique, I'm giving her a bolus here in the center. I should be able to give her good results around the nasolabial fold and some around the acne scars. What we'll do for her is, I'm going to leave point 2 to do under the scars with a cannula. I anyways wanted to do a little bit of under eye. I met her at the airport. When I landed this time around, she was the first person I saw at the airport. Then only I promised her that I'm going to give you under eye. That's it. So now that we have a product, I have about 2.2 mils total. We'll use BAP technique for 0.15 ml on each side. And I'll use a cannula to show you an extensive technique where we can do it under the scars and a little bit under the eye. When we do the hands-on, it is only BAP technique, so don't get too excited. Let's start with the things that you can do in the clinic. I can show you cannula today, but if you won't use it, you'll forget it. And I'll show you something that you can actually use in your clinic right from tomorrow itself. So you can probably purchase the product and start using it. Okay, so when we do any PDRN for the under eye, I prefer to dilute it 1:1. What we are using today is a pre-filled syringe. I can't do that, so I'll use a little bit of it in a cannula. The under eye area I usually don't mark, but okay, can you look in front? Yeah. So this part right here is called the tear trough ligament. This part right here is the orbital retaining ligament, ORL. And this is what we call as the malar mound. No matter what you do, whether it's fillers, whether it's boosters, you will never fill this area. Malar mound is something that we have as Southeast Asians, and it's something all of us have. With age, when the under eye starts becoming lax, the mid face starts losing fat pads, you'll start noting this. It's called malar festooning. That's why you're getting confused. A malar fat pad or malar festooning. Never fill a festoon. A festoon is already filled. You don't want to bulk up that area too much. So even when we do under eye fillers, We rarely do TT3, if those of you who know the MD codes, or lateral tear trough. You do a little bit over there, not too much, because you don't want to make that area heavy. So what I'm going to do is, she has, if you look, just look this side. If you look sideways, she has some mid-face deflation. You can see. Can all of you appreciate she has a little bit of fat loss in the mid-face? And that is the reason for her tear trough. That is where assessment comes into play. If you fill 0.5 ml fillers here, she will be very happy on table. She won't get the results that she wants. But if you fill just 0.2 ml of a deeper product, niche, the medial deep cheek fat pad, that will support her tear trough ligament beautifully. She doesn't have that typical projection. What you look for as an OG curve, you're trying to give her a little bit of a mid cheek fat pad. So always try to see if the tear trough is real, true, where there is absolutely no fat pad down, or if it is a mid-cheek fat pad problem, which is descending the tear trough. Ideally, you should correct both. And you should start with correcting the deeper fat pad first. You'll have to use much less product there. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to fill PDRN. I'm going to try to fill a little bit here as well, and here. We'll see how much it helps. It's not the ideal product. I would ideally want something filling, volumizing. I don't have anything volumizing today, so I'm going to try to regenerate as much as possible, but it's better than doing nothing. And I will give her a little bit under the scars that we'll go with the cannula, and we'll try to see how her pain tolerance is. I've heard that the product stings because of niacinamide, so let's see how much she can take. And apart from that, we'll do the regular BAP technique for both sides. So is my plan fine? Anything else you feel we can do? Anything which I've missed out? All good? Superb. So Tapan showed you the points beautifully. One is the base of the nose. So this is your first point. I'm marking after a very long time. Tapan knows how we inject in the clinic. I just inject randomly because I remember where to inject. But for you, I'll mark it. We already marked the top of the zygoma there. So the idea is the zygomatic ligament, the masseteric ligament, and the orbital ligaments. You're trying to inject where the ligaments are so that your hyaluronic acid diffuses there, carries the PDRN with it, and PDRN regenerates and tightens those areas. So that is the whole idea. So point 1, point 2. I usually mark it at the highest projection of the zygoma. I feel that works best. 3 will be the inferior tragus, just ahead of it. This is also the point where you insert threads. Just look towards me, sorry. And then we'll, from the tragus to this thing, so I'll just take a little bit above the gonial angle. I think this should be perfect. Now again, ideally, you're supposed to inject here. That is point number 5. I inject slightly inside. I always feel that as Southeast Asians, we have this wrinkling here, perioral wrinkling. So if you can prevent that, that is also a good idea. So I always inject slightly medial to the DAO point that I showed you. So we'll go here. Inferior tragus. And bridge of the nose. And we're done. Do we have a cannula? We don't have cannula, no? Okay. नहीं उसमें नहीं होगा. Then under I'll do very small. You're okay with the little bruising? Under eye is little tricky. So she has very thin under eyes, right? She has a very high chance. We'll try to not bruise, obviously. Nobody wants to bruise their patients. But she has a high chance of bruising because of the very thin skin that she has under the eyes, if you have noticed. Because without a cannula, then doing even scars doesn't make a lot of sense because there'll be multiple pricks. So let's do the BAP technique and let's try to do a little bit under the eyes. Let's see. Okay, so pre-filled syringe. This is 2.2 ml in total. It comes, I think, in a box of 3. You also do, even I don't know. Yeah, box of 3. That is hyaluronic acid and PDRN. So the hyaluronic acid in this is actually sodium hyaluronate. So it's non-cross-linked. You can safely inject this. I mean, you still respect anatomy. Please don't inject it directly into a vessel if you can avoid it. But if inadvertently you do, there should be no harm. Having said that, I always feel that we should respect anatomy even with boost, especially with these products. The first vascular occlusion I had in my life was because of a skin booster in acne scars. Why? Because in acne scars, you tend to get very aggressive. And in acne scars, the vessels are bigger because the scar, there's a thick scar tissue, collagen 3, under that there is your vessel. So I went inside the vessel nicely, filled up the area, the patient was feeling very happy, I was feeling even happier. Kept injecting, we injected almost 0.25 to 0.3 ml in a single spot because the scar was getting better. And she came back a couple of days later, she said, I have a deep bruise. I said, that's a vascular occlusion. She had nice pallor and blanching. Like, it's a few moment, okay? You really want that moment to never come again. But I'm happy you get that. They say you get it only when you do enough. And once you've done it, at least you're calm enough to control it. Luckily, the patient was fine. I did 2 days of high lace for her. She's absolutely fine. She hated what happened afterwards because she lost a lot of normal tissue as well. And the scar, one side improved beautifully, one side was worse. So then we ended up doing that with a cannula. And I think she's been coming to me for the last years. We're doing the same treatment with a cannula now. So that's, my point was, when you see scars, don't get very excited. Scars can really let you down. So be careful with them. Do it in layers. Do a deeper layer with a cannula and a superficial layer with your injection, so you'll be absolutely safe. After high lace, they say 2 weeks, but I wait for a month. Because you're also traumatized, patients are also traumatized. So best to give each other 1 month, meet after 1 month and meet with a fresh plan. See, if you do something in 15 days, patients feel you're compensating. If you wait for a month, patients feel this was the plan. So it's all about optics, right? Sometimes you know everything, but it's how you project it to the patient. That's much more important than knowing what it actually is. Okay, let's start. Needle. इसके अंदर ही है ना? It doesn't come with a pre. So we'll use. Do we have a thicker gauge? Gauge बहुत बड़ा होगा, 22 gauge है ना? 23. Very strange. Usually आता है ना pre-filled. 22 is huge. बहुत बड़ा है. Decant कर ले insulin syringe में. Thick होगा लेकिन ये. Let me see how thick it is. Sodium हाँ बहुत thick है. We're making it less painful for you. One ml मतलब फिर भी we can do a little, but under eye can't do. Under eye we won't do with 1 ml. Under anyways, I think because we don't have a cannula, let's not do under eye.
You can leave a little bit of product. I'll do it.
हाँ, perfect. Cannula से करते हैं. First time मैंने do it with a cannula. Trust me. One ml है?
नहीं, ये लेने जा रहे हैं.
हाँ, at least BAP technique को तो हाँ more than enough. अच्छा next भी तो है हाँ. Get 10 ना हाँ 10 ले 10 ले. I'm surprised. Okay, just 5 minutes. Till then, we can do any Q&A, anything you need, any questions that you have since the morning. We can, oh yeah, yes, let's finish. Pratiksha, wait for 2 minutes, I'll finish on masseter. नहीं, वो टॉक्सिन, masseter बोटॉक्स. बोटॉक्स रखा था ना मैंने कहीं पे. आई थिंक ग्लव के अंदर रखा था. हाँ ये देख. वही है. ठंडा भी है. नहीं थे, ये सब टॉक्सिन है. ऑल ऑफ दिस इज टॉक्सिन. इतना बचा है. नहीं ना. ठीक है, it's okay. Okay, just look this side. Oh yeah. वो कर देना, डिग्रीज कर दे. हो जाएगा. डिग्रीज एंड थोड़ा सा स्पिरिट. इन्हें से भी जाएगा वैसे. टिंट निकल जाता है.
Yes, you can
This is a tuberculin syringe needle. It is 27 gauge, half inch, which means 13 millimeter depth. Ideally for PDRN-based boosters where you're creating blebs, your depth should not be more than 4 to 5 millimeters. So insulin is actually the perfect syringe to use. But because these PDRN products are very thick, because they have sodium hyaluronate, right? So you have to reconstitute them and use either mesosyringes. The problem with mesosyringes also is that you need a lure locked syringe. Otherwise you'll give pressure and it'll come out. So lure locked or screwed syringes are what you should use for PDRN. Or when you get premixed, you should always ask the company to get you syringes. So I'm sure in Korea they have their own syringes, but maybe the guys who are importing it are not getting the syringes. So we are instead going to use this. And like I said, I'm okay with the gauge. 27 gauge is a good gauge to use. The product is also thick, but the 13 millimeter is a little much. So I'll just use half bevel and we'll try to create a bleb as far as possible. So absolutely fine. Also, the higher the gauge, the less pain patients will feel. So we have changed gears. We are only going to do BAP technique, both sides. So 5 points on one side and 5 points on the other. So when the ones who come for the hands-on demo, this is a lower lock syringe. So once I've locked it, then it's pretty much stable. I can use a lot of pressure, so that makes sense. Okay, Alco swab. Let's start with, what is your, which is your painful side, Pratiksha? Trick question. Achha, just move your face to that side. Okay, so I'm going to start with something which I feel is the least painful point. But we will see Pratiksha's reaction. So I have, let's do a course correct. I have around 2.5 ml, 2.4 usable into 10 points. So I'm going to give 0.24. That's going to be a little difficult to calculate. Okay, so I'm basically going to do 0.2 ml on each side. And then we'll be left with some 0.4, which I'll inject maybe under a scar. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, Pratiksha, first point. Tell me how good or bad this is. How bad? Is good? I'm happy. Okay, let's do another point. Slightly sensitive, right? Can all of you see the blip? You can see that, right? That is what you do with PDRN and PN based formulations. You create a blip and you forget about it. But you make sure you're aware of the cross-linking of the product. Okay, so we're left with about 1.8 now. Let's do this part. This is a little tricky. Not bad. This is okay. She's thinking if she's having pain or not. That's a good sign. She's not screaming. She's not hit me. All good signs till now. Okay, let's do the zygoma next. So I have this technique sometimes. When the skin is harder, you can also push the skin onto the syringe. So I'm putting the needle here and I'm just going to push the skin over it. It makes the injection slightly better. Was it slightly better? Okay, zygoma and the cheek. Now that I'll do the nasal bridge point. Nasal bridge is the most troublesome point. The only place where you actually have a chance of bruising, and it's a very painful point. Anything which is towards the medial aspect of the face does pain decently. So we'll just finish this off. Okay. How bad? It's increasing, but not very bad, right? Okay. So we'll skip the part. I won't do anything under the scars, okay? That's 3 points to go. Okay, last point. Was this side better than the other side? The last one? That I expected. Okay, please give her a big round of applause. She took a bigger syringe than she should have, and she's come out winning. So that's good, that's good. 5 points. Clean kar dena, spirit. You're feeling okay, right? Why don't you clean the whitish mark? Spirit. Yeah, you got a slight bruise here, very slight, just a small injection point. These are fine. I'm very happy about the centers. Bleeding or blood. So can you see the swelling? She still has that big bleb, right? How long do you think the bleb will take to go off? Promise the patient 24 hours. Usually by 8 or 9 hours, the blebs start going down. When you do the neck, tell them 2 days. Neck usually takes about slightly more than 24 hours for the blebs to settle. And we'll see if the BAP technique helps her scars also. If the diffusion principle works, her scars should also get a little better at least. So let's see. Of course we can. If I had a smaller needle, I would have. With a longer needle, I have a chance of really going deep and causing a bruising. I want to minimize bruising. Even with the 5-point technique, bruising is less, but you still can bruise. These parts are the most bruisable parts, and sometimes these ones. Zygoma can also bruise. These 2 points are almost non-bruisable. There's no major vessel here. 100%. I want to do, if I had cannula, I would have not done the 5-point technique. I would have, with the cannula, only filled 5 points and gone under the scar and filled it. And you can fill in deep and superficial. And wonderful results with PDRN. So deeper with the cannula and superficial with injections. Abhi, what I've done is I've done mid-depth. I did half of 13 millimeters, so 6 millimeter deep. If I had an insulin syringe, I would have done just 3 millimeter superficial and cannula leke subcutaneous. So then you're doing, for me, it's the best of both worlds, the best way to use PDRN. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was really painful.
It was painful. So thank you so much, everyone. I think now we'll have to go with our hands-on. So those who have registered for the PDRN hands-on, please stay back. And for remaining, thank you so much, everyone. And I think we'll do it in group of 2 for PDRN, or we shall call all of them and have it in 2 sections.
Yeah, we can call all of them and do it parallelly, I think. Otherwise,
that's great. So Dr. Prabesh Luitel, Dr. Joshna Shrestha, Dr. Anjali, Dr. Sabita Ryal, Dr. Surendra Sapkota, Dr. Sharat Shrestha, Dr. Vishnu Prasad Adhikari, Dr. Shivendra Kumar, Dr. Sumit, Dr. Alisha, Dr. Anisha, Dr. Navita, Shreyasha, and Dr. Pallavi. So kindly come forward. So we will divide into group of 2. And for the remaining, our delegates, thank you so much for being here today. It was really great. Thank you so much.
No, so mallet mount का क्या you inject medially, जैसे this is the mount, इसको fill करो आप. You